So MSNBC is so bad. They're so freaking horrible and just their blatant bias and hatred towards one Bernard Sanders that they forced a voter in New Hampshire who at one point was considering voting for Michael Bennet to vote for Bernie Sanders. Let's check it out.
Who did you vote for? I voted for Bernie. Although there are a number of candidates that I really like, and so I felt like when I finished voting, I was still undecided, including Elizabeth, including Michael Bennet. Now that's sort of a paradox to decide and then feel undecided. So you're a complex person. Yes, but I want to say the reason I went for Bernie is because of MSNBC. And
I don't think if he knew what she was going to say, I don't think he would ask her to say anymore.
I think it is completely cynical to say that he's lost 50% of his vote.
Yes.
From the last time when there were two candidates.
Yes.
Now there are multiple.
Yeah, there's like, I think maybe like 9 or so that you could pick from on the New Hampshire ballot. Of course, he's not going to get, 48% of the vote or whatever, or 50% or whatever he got. Yeah, last time. She was saying double, yeah, it'd be like 52. There's so many other candidates to choose from, but he still won. That's what they should be focusing on. Of course, they're trying to, tear Bernie down and try to discredit this victory because that's what it is, because it's not good for the rest of the neoliberal centrist candidates that places like MSNBC and CNN support and prop up because they benefit from it.
Candidates who would be great presidents and people that I think that we can unify and get behind. But the kind of the stop Bernie cynicism that I heard from a number of people. I watch MSNBC constantly. So
well, that's your problem there, unfortunately. You need to cut the cord, find some independent media, some new media to consume, whether that's on YouTube or online. There's lots of good progressive and independent YouTube channels to follow. There's also a lot of good websites for news like Common Dreams, like Truth Out, like Truth Dig, like Black Agenda Report. Democracy Now! Is pretty good. The Gray Zone's really good. So etc. etc. So that's your problem there. You're gonna keep getting bombarded with that message if you keep watching the mainstream media, especially MSNBC. Pull the plug. Become a patron of shows on YouTube like Secular Talk, like the Michael Brooks Show, like the Majority Report, stuff like that. Support progressive, channels and leftist outlets that are out there advocating for ways and policies and ways of looking at things that are going to make the world a better place for the working people, and not MSNBC that's owned by GE, the big weapons builder manufacturer. All right, no, they're owned by Comcast now, so I don't. But either way, they're not good.
A number of commentators, and so it made me angry enough. I said, okay, Bernie's got my vote. This is such an interesting point. What you're saying is,
and look, she's not some. I mean, she's not. Doesn't seem like to be all that progressive of a candidate, or she's not really voting based on the issues. It seems to me, because Michael Bennet and Bernie Sanders are pretty far apart on the spectrum. I mean, I don't know if Bennett's necessarily bad as, let's say, Joe Manchin, but Bennett's no progressive. I think he's got a horrible track record on environmental issues, as well as not supporting things like, Medicare for all or canceling student loan debt. So he's, pretty regressive in that way. So I think this voter wasn't really voting based off of their own self-interest, just maybe of how the candidates appeal to them. Do they seem like a good person? Do they seem nice? Do they seem respectable? Could I, go have a coffee with them, or, something like that. But MSNBC just does such a hack job just going after Bernie Sanders at every opportunity in the most unhinged and just insane ways. Chris Matthews literally accused Bernie Sanders of wanting or being okay with people getting executed in Central Park if the Reds had won. I mean, that's the kind of shit that forces people that would consider voting for Michael Bennet, a centrist neoliberal candidate, to then go out and support Bernie Sanders, a social democrat, a very, populist, leftist. So I mean that's amazing. So we got a Bernie supporter because of how shitty MSNBC is. Check it out.
And we take criticism because we're journalists, right? We got to be open-minded. You're saying that hearing from people, whether it's guests, contributors, the conversations you've heard.
But look, guests, contributors. No, there's like hosts of shows that are horribly biased. Chris Matthews, I just mentioned. Chuck Todd, there's a segment where he was interviewing Bernie Sanders in the last couple days, and he accuses Bernie Sanders supporters online of being like the Nazis. That's Chuck Todd. That is a host. This journalist, whoever this person is interviewing this voter, guests, contributors, no actual hosts, but he obviously wouldn't want to point that out because that would look even worse.
Were designed to tear down Senator Sanders or quote unquote stop him, actually endeared him to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I could have chosen several candidates, but that's what pushed me over the edge for Bernie.
That's really interesting, and thank you for sharing it. See, I knew you were complex. That's a layer.
So, I mean, obviously, you shouldn't consume corporate shitty mainstream media because it is corporate and shitty, and you got to really remember to filter that through that lens. And remember what Chomsky points out in Manufacturing Consent: the range of debate that is allowed on mainstream media is very, very narrow, and if it's just to the left of that, especially to the left of that ideological spectrum, you're not going to hear any of those leftist perspectives on mainstream media. And if you do, they're going to be attacked vehemently and falsely, like they do against Bernie Sanders. And you often don't really see on a lot of these mainstream media outlets any type of progressive voice when they have these panels, when they are debating the presidential candidates and their supposed merits and shortcomings on policy or platform or electability, whatever it is. It's very far and few between that you will see one of those talking heads be a progressive, somebody on the left who's espousing populist values, like supporting things like Medicare for all, canceling student loan debt, a Green New Deal, things like that. Sometimes Sam Cedar will go on Chris Hayes' show like really late, and every once in a while, but he's very few and far between, and that's only one show on corporate MSNBC. So be careful where you consume your news from, but looks like if you get enough of bullshit from mainstream media, they turn potential Michael Bennet supporters into Bernie Sanders supporters. So if that's what happens, then that's okay, I guess. But obviously, we just need to get rid of corporate media. Peace. Much love.